first headline is regarding the Dolphins and Redskins game. The Dolphins lost, as you know, 17-16. And this is, the Dolphins are tanking. Dolphins are tanking like a boss. 17-16, instead of kicking the extra point to go to overtime, give yourself a chance, maybe even tie it. I would have loved to see a tie. I would have found that hilarious. I was actually rooting for a tie, just because of how funny and absurd that would be. Instead, with Ryan Fitzpatrick in the game, because they subbed out Josh Rosen, they benched him, they went for 2 points. They went for the 2-point conversion instead of kicking the extra point to go to overtime. And if you look at that 2-point conversion, it looked horrible. It was a bad screen pass that was dropped. It wouldn't have gone anywhere anyways. It was bad. And I know that most players don't like to tank, but with the Dolphins, it's just too funny. And that's why I had to include that in there. They're tanking like a boss. They didn't go for 2. They went for Tua. That's what happened. Next headline. And this one's a bit more discomforting, a bit more oof. The 2015 draft class of quarterbacks. The 2015 quarterback draft class is on its way out. Some members of that 2015 draft class that are quarterbacks, aside from the top 2 I'm going to talk about, which were the top 2 picks for that draft actually. So aside from them, we have Brett Hundley, Bryce Petty, Trevor Siemian, Sean Mannion, Garrett Grayson. Bryce Petty and Garrett Grayson are out of the league entirely. Sean Mannion, Trevor Siemian, Brett Hundley are all backups, with Trevor Siemian and Brett Hundley being backups for young quarterbacks. Brett Hundley with the rookie, being backup for the rookie Kyler Murray. Trevor Siemian being backup for second-year starter Sam Darnold. Now, the other 2 quarterbacks I want to talk about from this draft are Marcus Mariota, who is the second pick, and Jameis Winston, who is the first pick. These 2 had horrible weekends. Jameis Winston, 3 interceptions against the Panthers that totaled him to a team 5 turnovers. And Marcus Mariota could not score against the Denver Broncos. Yes, the Denver Broncos have a good defense led by Von Miller and with the addition of Bradley Chubb. And they have a good secondary. They're good. But putting up an egg against them is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. The narrative around Marcus Mariota is that he's far too inconsistent. He isn't healthy all the time. He's always injured at some point. And with Jameis Winston is that he cannot get his turnovers under control. I said earlier this year, before the season started, that this was essentially a do or die for Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota. That if it didn't work out this year, it may be time to move on. And I think that it's starting to look like that is the case. The third headline that I have is regarding the Chargers, and this hurts me, but I have to say it. These are the same old Chargers, and they have a great roster. They have Phillip Rivers, Melvin Gordon, Austin Eckler, Derwin James, Joey Bosa, but the problem is that most of them are injured. Yes, Phillip Rivers is not injured. Melvin Gordon is not injured. Austin Eckler is not injured. Joey Bosa is not injured. But the key pieces on the defensive side and some on the offensive side are injured. Not all the time, but frequently. So that contributes to poor play. And right now it's poor offensive play. The defense is alright. It struggles against the run, but it's poor offensive play. And that leads to them losing easy gimme games against the Broncos, against the Steelers. Those are games that you should win. And right now they're doing the classic Chargers way where they lose easy gimme games. They get injured. And they don't they don't take advantage of an opportunity that's right there. They're 2-4. The Chiefs are on a 2-game skid. If the Chargers were to actually win, the opportunities would go right before them. They would have the division in their hands, being in the spot for a number 1 seed or number 2 seed, and right in playoff contention, right in Super Bowl contention, actually. But instead, they're 2-4. Best you can hope for at this point is a miracle to get to a wild card game, to get a 5th or 6th seed. It's kind of the case. That is the case, actually. Not kind of, it is the case. And the 4th one, which is probably what everyone has been talking about this past weekend, is those dang referees. Those dang refs, man. Especially Monday Night Football. There were 2 penalties called on Trey Flowers that were not there. They were phantom calls. And they were illegal use of hands to the face. Now, on replay, you could see it was really to the shoulder. It was higher up on the shoulder, right? Along this area right here. But not at all to the neck or head. And these 2 penalties, as minor as they seem, a 5-yard penalty, cost the Lions the game. One of them set up the Packers for a touchdown in the next couple plays, where it was from Aaron Rodgers with a beautiful pass to Lazard. The second penalty gave the Packers the ability to run out the clock and eventually kick what was a 23-yard game-winning field goal by Mason Crosby, leaving no time at all for the Lions to come down the field and kick their own field goal. This simply cannot happen. But it did. It did. Now for the Cowboys against the Jets game, that was another one that I found was just ridiculous, the amount of penalties that were called. The last drive of the game, and this was actually within the last 2 minutes. Within the last 2 minutes of the Cowboys' drive. 6 penalty flags were thrown in a row. Now, one of them was declined, leading to 4 penalties actually taking effect in a row. So when penalty declined, and then 4 in a row that were accepted. But still, it's ridiculous. It takes energy out of the game. It takes momentum away from whichever team. It really sucks the life out of whoever's watching, whether it be a fan or a casual watcher who doesn't care about who wins, myself. It really sucks the energy out of the game, or the drama out of the game of, oh, can the Cowboys get a touchdown and then a 2-point conversion, send this to overtime? It really made it bland. And even when the Cowboys did score, it was like, let's kind of get this game over with. And so the big takeaway here is that referees, yes, call penalties. But don't call the ones that are like, maybe. I'm not really sure. No, you gotta be sure, 100% sure, and you gotta be able to justify it. Yes, call penalties when it matters the most. But make sure that the penalties are actually there and are valid. Don't end up messing the game. Don't end up messing the game up by trying to be too careful or being too carefree. Try to find that middle line. Because, of course, you don't want something like the Saints and Rams game happen again where they don't want to ruin the game. In those situations, yes, throw the flag. But in the situations like this, with Trey Flowers, you're not validated to throwing a flag there. For the Cowboys-Jets game, some of those were marginal, were barely even there. You could argue against it. In those cases, yeah, don't throw it. Don't. Because it ruins the game. It ruins the drama. It ruins the momentum of each team. So just future lesson for referees out there.